Hi everybody and welcome to another episode of the United States of a Movie podcast. We're the movie podcast that makes every Monday a fun day as we get together, we talk movies, but of course we have a purpose here. We're the podcast that's trying to find one movie to define each state in these United States. We've already done one trip around America. We're currently on our second, and today we stop at the state of South Carolina. Ooh, South Carolina, where things are going to get weird. Things are going to get a bit romantical as they go up against one of the weirdest, strangest winners we had on the show. But before we get to that, let's welcome back my amazing co-host, as always, Ryan Sunderbuddy. Welcome back.
So great to be here. Just got back from my ski trip with Haley Joel Osment, and boy, is my nose tired.
You son of a bitch.
I just saw that story.
Topical. It's topical.
Yeah. Nailed that one, buddy. And of course, as always, sitting in the middle of his very own video store in Los Angeles, California, Will Hirsch, buddy. Welcome back.
Great to be here. My joke was stolen, but hey, that's great.
Since he was arrested for being awesome.
Well, because he pulled a Mel Gibson, right? He just started with the anti-Semitic, he
was in character as J.D. Vance, though.
Yeah. Now it all makes sense.
He does do a very good J.D. Vance.
Really good. Really good.
It's
almost too good now in retrospect.
The bit at the donut shop fucking kills me every time.
But today, guys, we are at South Carolina, where last time around, I think we had Troutman on the show for that episode as well.
Yeah.
But we ended up crowning, of all things, 1982's Swamp Thing, a truly fantastic and bizarre movie in every single way. I remember that movie just being like so bad and so good all at the same time.
Yeah, it's a wild one.
Yeah.
It's no Return to Swamp Thing, but you know, it's pretty close.
Well, we should have done Return to Swamp Thing, but in this particular case, we went conventional and unconventional. Will, why don't you introduce the unconventional one that we went with?
Yeah, this is one I don't think I had seen it since it came out. But it's a future Superman director's James Gunn's first feature, Slither, starring Nathan Fillion from The Rookie. The only thing people know him from, nothing else.
And Michael Rooker from Henry, portraying the serial killer. I don't know.
And
from
Elizabeth Banks and things like that.
Yeah.
But yes, it's 2006 movie. I remember when it came out. I remember the poster. It's a science fiction comedy horror mashup with an insane amount of references that it actually goes a bit too far. And honestly, it's a movie I was looking forward to, and it just kind of didn't hit at all for me.
Yeah,
It's such a movie you'd watch on a Sunday afternoon on cable, just like hungover or sick or something. It's just like, yeah, I'll throw this on. But
It's very often Ryan's talked about, like, it's a Ryan joke, but I forgot this movie as soon as I saw it. I was forgetting the movie as I was watching it. And it's like, like I've been talking about her on the podcast because she's my little movie buddy, Tildy, my German exchange student. She came in and said, "Oh, what are you watching?" And I'm watching Slither. She sat down for about 20 minutes, and eventually that's what I love about the directness of Germans. She just gets up and goes, "I'm going to leave you to your C movie." she just basically slammed the movie.
Wow.
This movie's garbage.
And so are you, yeah. This movie is bad, and you should feel bad. Yeah.
I feel insulted on your behalf. Like, my God.
It was like, but that said, it's very much a genre film. It very much feels like a 2006 kind of like original type of film. But fuck, is this movie gross? It's so gross.
Well, it's kind of gross. It reminded me more than anything of The Blob with Steve McQueen.
Yeah, it's got almost the same opening.
It's got almost the same opening. It's got almost the same everything in many ways. It's referencing a lot of movies, not just in the sort of genre approach, but also like a lot of the characters are named after characters from The Thing, and people's stores are named after. It's all references left, right, and center. And there's clearly a love for these kind of movies.
It's also got a James Gunn cameo.
Yes.
Yep.
Which is,
And it's got Jenna Fisher in, who I didn't realize was his wife at the time.
Yeah.
Right before she blew up on The Office. And like I said, like I would say, Ryan and I were talking about this because I was actually I was in Arizona just the other day, and I was kind of saying that I felt that Slither slithered so that the substance could sprint. And it's the only kind of like the way that it's in the sort of the body horror, the shock horror, the gross horror, everything. It's just like, cool. It's not the substance. It's kind of like my only thing.
Yeah, I would go like not so much the substance, but it's gross and it's, you know, like you said, the body horror. But even by that point, by 2006, I had seen so many better examples of that kind of movie that this just felt like I don't know, like it just wasn't going far enough, and I don't know. So it just felt kind of milquetoast in that way. Like it's gross, but I'm not shocked. I'm having no reaction to it. I'm just like,
I think it's because I've seen so much better, like you were saying, so much better execution of a movie like this since then.
Yeah.
That this just didn't hit the same. But back then I was like, oh, this is a unique take on a horror film, because I think everything coming out around that time period was, you know, a new Freddy movie or a new Jason movie, like that.
Yeah. Or the Crazies.
Yeah. Well, another one like comparison that I drew is that, and you know, so don't get me wrong, right? Because I really like James Gunn. I'm really impressed with what he did with his Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy and sticking the landing on that one. I'm very much excited to watch his Superman movie, and I was really interested to watch this. But you know, I guess at this point he's still kind of like finding his feet, and I felt like it was in ways trying to be a Cornetto trilogy movie.
I see. It's so funny you say. I thought it was more like you watch like early Peter Jackson movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of has that like
The Dead Alive.
He's taking big swings and a lot of risks and just chances, and I admire him for that. I think it's like a very fun, unique type of film, but I didn't really love watching it that much.
Yeah, you know, it's aiming in that direction, but I feel like it has too many actors I've seen before to stick that kind of landing.
Yeah.
It just feels a little too, even though it's obviously low budget, not low budget enough for what he's aiming at. It's just, I don't know, if for it being a smaller independent movie, it feels too much like it's got studio sensibilities.
Well, look, I would say is like, you know, referencing my Cornetto trilogy comment, is that if you're looking for an example about how to make a referential genre movie that's funny but with a bit of sort of scares to it, it's The World's End. You know, is like, that's Edgar Wright's kind of like, it's a bit horror, it's a bit space, it's a bit like body, you know, like it's
but it fits together.
Yes, it does. It's very polished. And I've always said that about Edgar Wright, is that guy knows when he's writing his script, how he's going to move the camera, what the camera is going to do, if it's going to have a sound effect, you know, and what he's going to
writes like a storyboard.
Yeah. Sure. And it's just in this way, he's taking swings. I'm absolutely agree with it. And I saw that they were clearly having fun. I just kept asking the question is, why am I not having as much fun as everybody else in this movie? So
yeah, I was gonna say the only time it comes close is where the woman is.
I'm so fucking hungry.
Yeah, that's the only time where I was like, oh, we got something here, you know. But it doesn't ever reach that level again.
So to bring you up to speed, if you haven't seen the movie, like we mentioned, it's basically the plot of The Blob, but instead of the blob coming out, it's like a little parasite, and this parasite infects the very first person it meets in Wheelsley, South Carolina, which is the incredible Michael Rooker, who is, if you look at James Gunn and Michael Rooker, that it's kind of like it's his Bobby De Niro for Scorsese or DiCaprio for Scorsese. They like working together, and Michael Rooker is, let's be honest, he's bonkers in all the best ways, and he's used very well in this movie. Like, so he is essentially, I mean, it's kind of insinuated that
the idea of him and Elizabeth Banks together was just like, this doesn't work for me.
Right.
This is ridiculous.
Well, that's
that was the most unbelievable thing in the movie.
He looks like Walter White from Breaking Bad in this movie that I couldn't, like, without the mustache, I just couldn't see anything else. The same glasses, the same hair, like bald shaved head, same wardrobe. I'm like, oh, it's just, that's where they got the idea for Breaking Bad. All right, Vince Gilligan, okay.
You're not wrong. It is explained in the movie that, like, because he's an older guy, she's younger, but, and then that he'd had his eye on her when she was too young. So it's kind of just like, you know, he's a bit of a creep, but he's the sort of rich guy. And then like he's off in the forest with some other younger girl.
He's cheating on his
Yeah,
wife.
gets himself infected, and then at that point on, it's kind of off to the races. It doesn't really, like I said, much like the Blob.
It's the
Movie
classic
starts-
trope, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Something crash lands. He's like, they just happen to be adjacent to it. He walks over. He's like, I better poke this pile of goo with this stick. See what happens. Sweetie, did you bring my poking stick? She just hands to
Yeah.
just like, but it's like the way it infects you. It like, it's weird because it's like a different species from another planet. It's a hive mind kind of situation, right? Like,
Yes,
you get that bit
Yeah.
later on. I guess I don't.
Yeah, that felt a little ham-fisted. I don't want to get too far ahead.
Where the
but,
girl's
yeah.
like almost infected, and she can kind of see.
Well, she like
right?
bites into it and gets its memory, which happens to me whenever I eat chicken.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you know, other than that,
And the creatures look like VAT-19, like giant gummy worms, like
Right.
so fucking gross.
Yeah,
yeah,
they are a bit. Yeah,
But it's
so-
all practically done, which I appreciate. Like
well,
good
a lot
practical
of
stuff.
it is. There is some good practical stuff, and then when it does jump into some CGI of like a bunch of slugs, that's when it's like, oh, it's made in 2006.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's- where just the lighting's not quite right, the shadow's not quite right. You know,
No
it's
weight
just-
to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, granted, it's 2006, but at the same
But it still look good. You can see him like again, like the genesis for what he would end up doing. You know, developing his his visual style.
especially because it's a $15 million movie. All right, we're talking
Yeah.
about CGI, but in a $15 million movie, which means
Crazy,
they had
yeah.
about $12 for CGI. So they do
Right.
pretty good.
It was
So,
just
yeah,
Michael Rooker doing it on the computer.
yeah.
yeah,
But it just kind of like kicks off just the story. It's a small town, like I said, it's classic. It's a classic story. So you've got like Nathan Fillion, who's like the cop, the sheriff or whatever, and he's kind of got a bit of a torch for Elizabeth Banks. The one comment I did get from Tills actually, like before she was like, you know, see movie, bye, I'll see you later, is that she, like Elizabeth Banks has this classic old Hollywood vibe and beauty to her.
Mhm.
And like, you know, as I was getting into some of the facts and behind the scenes about the movie, is that's kind of what Gunn was going for. He's like, he was looking for a Hitchcockian blonde, you know,
Yeah,
a sort of a
that works.
classic sort of, and so she almost sticks out in the movie because she's just got such bright blonde hair and she's so put together, and then everybody else is kind of like, you know, just basic in the movie kind of
Yeah,
vibe.
very small town look. Yeah.
yeah,
Everyone else.
But
She
it's just-
looks like a Hollywood star, and everyone
Yeah.
else just looks like a piece of shit.
yeah.
No, it's interesting. is
Intentionally.
I always get
Yeah.
Elizabeth Banks and Rachel McAdams mixed up, and I love that we've got them now back to back in this movie. So yeah, from that point on, it's either who's going to get infected, how they're going to get infected, what movie like horror trope is going to happen. Like, you know, the classic one is the thingy in the bath, which
Yeah.
is then, you know, a reference
From-
to Friday the 13th, like Freddy's thing, or a reference to another movie
Or
called
Nightmare on Elm
Slither.
Street.
That's right. Nightmare on Elm Street. But there's also another movie that everyone was accusing it of ripping off. And he's like, yeah, I know. It was inspired by something like Slither or something like that, but not that. But it's
Philadelphia Story.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, it just goes around and it's like, who's going to get infected by what? And you've got a certain amount. And like I said, all the classic tropes are there, but it's filled with a bunch of references. The one thing I will do like is that just as the movie goes on, Michael Rooker is just becoming more and more of a weird tentacle monster thing with some great practical work,
yeah.
great sort of like effects, his body effects, some great puppetry is going on. And that's one of the like movies that
Method actor.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, dude, seriously, that's the thing is that I don't think, I mean, could you pick any other person better for that role than Michael Rooker in this particular case?
Probably.
Give me enough time.
Challenge accepted, go for it.
Yeah. Short answer, yes, but no, not for this. But I mean, it feels like this movie is trying to do so many things. It's very like cliche plot points, but I enjoyed that aspect of it. Like you get the scene like you're talking about where he becomes this giant tentacle monster and they're in the field and the cops surrounding him and they use Elizabeth Banks to try and reason with, I know you're still in there, like that
Right.
kind of thing. And then
And
he
he's
just
just big.
explodes. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just a big homunculoid monster at that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's filled with a lot of stuff like that, and you know, a lot of references like trauma movies, which is James Gunn's background, as he worked with Lloyd Kaufman on a lot of later era trauma stuff. Lloyd Kaufman actually makes a cameo in the film. And if for people who don't know, Lloyd Kaufman and Troma, they're the ones who originated the Toxic Avenger movies. Like that's where that franchise comes from.
And it feels like that kind of that type of film for sure. Like,
yeah, it just doesn't go because I think most people, in fact, I know most people have not seen Troma movies, and they are the trash of like movie like genre movies, but they're proud of it. And just watch Tromeo and Juliet. But so yeah, so it just doesn't go as far as those movies do. So it's like Troma light almost, and that's what I was kind of disappointed by. Is I'm like, it's just
so you have like the Criterion closet, and then you have the Troma toilet, like
yes, exactly,
just pulling nuggets out.
And Lloyd Kaufman would be very proud of that.
The water closet.
I was watching this because we've got that new Toxic Avenger movie coming out.
Yeah,
which miracle! But I'm surprised he didn't make like a proper Toxic Avenger film.
That's very surprising that he's at least not on as producer or something like that, because they were really close. Like Lloyd Kaufman is in the Guardians movies too. Like, so they're still close to this day. So that is shocking. But I don't know how much Lloyd Kaufman is even involved in the new one.
Yeah.
Hey, so that new one, all right, Peter Dinklage, yes?
Mm-hmm.
So
the Dinkles.
The Dinks. Is that like brand new, or is that previously shot and been stuck in limbo and coming out? Like I don't actually know.
They couldn't find I think they just couldn't find a distributor.
Yeah, it's been done for like 2 years, and
okay.
they literally have not been able to release it. I think there were some rights issues too, which I'm not sure what the issue was. But.
And wasn't that at some point in this movie like they were watching Toxic Avenger and like
yeah.
It's
like on in the background. You see like the moment right before the janitor gets turned into the
there's a lot of like eye rolly references, but again, like watching it back then, you're like, oh, that's kind of fun, but it just it's not executed as well, but it's still like a fun.
I get what you mean, and this is what I mean though, is I can't quite put my finger on why. Like he's doing it, and I've seen other movies doing it, and he's making the references, and they're making the movies, and it's all just like not quite. It's like it's not quite a home run. It's like, oh, it's okay, it's a base hit.
It's strangely enough, James Gunn is a much more like populist filmmaker. Like he's got a much better sensibility for what a general audience would like, and he's not so much a genre director. Like, he's closer to somebody like a Spielberg or something like that, in that he has a really good sensibility for what most people want to see in a movie that would be really good for mass audiences. But his weakness is, okay, if he tries to make a down and dirty Troma like film, he can't quite get there. He's a little too mainstream.
Well, that's interesting, actually. That starts making some sense to me, because, when you look at his earlier movies, they're all a bit crazy, a bit violent, a bit this, that, and the other, and they didn't quite vibe. And then he comes and he does Guardians, and it's like, okay, because he's got really good wacky instincts. Like, he'll bring something crazy, wacky, but he's got good comedy. He writes very well. And when he's got that, the Guardians movies, whatever people think about Marvel, those two movies are like, no one expected that to work.
Right.
And then like when you watch the third one, I'm like, am I crying about a raccoon? But he does do very, very well with that kind of stuff. And it was interesting to see that, like, I don't know why he started like in that. He tried to be very genre at the beginning of his career. And like, like you were saying, now he has the biggest movie coming out this year with Superman.
Yeah. He's the opposite of Wes Craven, who wanted to be like a director who directed mainstream movies, and it's like, no, you make weird little freak movies like those.
It is fascinating to see like the jump from this movie and then Super, right? I think he did after this. Maybe there's one more, and then to go to these Guardians movies, and then to I guess he Peacemaker, and then did he do this? Was it the Suicide Squad one? Right,
he did do Suicide. Yeah, right? the newer Suicide, the good Suicide Squad.
Right, and then to be like launched into this, like for him to do Superman now, this huge prestige comic book character.
Not just that, he's in charge of the DC movie universe, and it's like cool.
Who's his wife playing? Yeah,
she's in Peacemaker or whatever.
I know exactly,
but like it's really incredible to see the journey that his career has gone on, and like, and it's kind of interesting that now you bring that up, Will, that you've kind of helped me kind of put two and two together. Is that like, I guess he did want to be a bit gross and a bit random and a bit weird, and maybe
Yeah,
it was
it's
just
like
the way he was
getting it
written.
out of the
that.
system, because you
Yeah.
get those bits
Yeah.
in like when you watch Peacemaker, the
Mhm.
practical effects and people just getting fucking exploded and stuff, and
Mhm.
my morbid curiosity is like, how is he gonna do any sort of thing like that in a Superman film?
Yeah,
Like, maybe it won't.
but it's
Yeah,
Maybe a bit more restrained.
it's like Suicide Squad, where you've got Starro and they go inside the eyeball, or they have the thing eaten by all the rats. He's still got the kind of like the grossy
Yeah.
moments, but it's done with an element of comedy, and they've got the music that's playing or the whatever's going on just goes, ha, this is weird,
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
like ew.
I gotta say real quick that you just reminded me of Suicide Squad. One of the funniest line readings I've ever seen in any movie is when the well, I forget the character. The Viola Davis character is trying to talk to Idris Elba, and she's like, can you hear me? Can you hear me? And he just goes, huh? Like, just as Starro is like
Yeah.
crashing through the city, he's just looking at just like,
There's a good movie. I do want to
Killed
rewatch
me.
that movie. That's like John Cena is like came
Yeah.
out of nowhere and just
Yeah.
stole that movie.
He's got the comedic chops. Like, for him to go on then do that Peacemaker show, which I enjoy, was
Mhm.
nice.
Yeah, for that to work, it was very good. Now, this
Yeah.
movie does like the one part that is weird, gross, and funny all at the same time and works is something that I think, Ryan, you mentioned a little while ago, but is that it gets to the point of that there's the hive mind sort of like Michael Rooker, but then there's this other infected lady. I can't even remember, but she gets super hungry and she
Yeah.
can't stop
I
eating.
don't know how these creatures work, right? So Michael Rooker's
Right.
infected early on in the film, and then he's just gathering all of this raw meat, which is a pretty funny
Yeah.
bit when he goes to the grocery store. He's like,
Yeah.
hey, give me 2 of those steaks. Yeah, I better make it 12. And then it just cuts to him in the pickup truck full of just packaged meats.
Right.
But like, I don't know, like, if they need to feed to sustain. It's unclear to me how these creatures really function, and maybe I was just staring at my phone for too long.
I think in that case, so there's this woman that he's kind of like infected / impregnated, and she
Right.
just like she goes to this barn, starts eating all that meat, we disappear. And then
Yeah.
we come back about 10 minutes later, we break into this barn, and it is a fantastic shot. Fantastic
Mhm.
practical shot where she is just
It's like the Monty Python guy in the
Yes!
Yes.
taken to the extreme, wafer thin, just one
Yeah.
more, sir.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
she's
yeah.
just completely swollen up like a balloon inside this thing. You can only see her face is just like as she's part of this blob, and she's like, I don't feel good, or whatever it is. And she
I'm
says,
so fucking hungry.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And that's where she like explodes into all of these slug monsters that then sort of that's kind of what I mean as well, is it kind of then switched to, okay, now it's kind of like Gremlins. So it's
Right.
kind of like it's referencing the blob and it's referencing this, and now it's doing a
They
kind
get to
of
do more vignette kind of things with these
Yes.
creatures now. So you get
because
that
they
bathtub
get
sequence.
gross. And
Yeah.
exactly, you get different, okay, how is this slug monster gonna get this person? Like you said, scenes of, oh, someone's in the bath, it comes out of the vents for somebody else, and then when it is a very, very phallic, aggressive like attack, because these things they go into your mouth, and it's like everyone just, like the sounds that they're making, the visuals, and apparently the one thing that Gunn's like, I'm glad I didn't do it, was like he cut or didn't shoot.
Give them balls.
Yeah.
It's a last minute change. He's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm a little.
Take those balls out.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No, it's the bit because the kids get zombified later, and he's like,
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't shoot the
I was
thing
gonna
with the
say.
girls, because he's like, that would have been weird and uncomfortable, and I was like, that's
Yeah.
the where it would have been too far, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
I liked how the actors behaved once they were infected. Like
Yeah.
that kind of, because they're not really zombies. They're still kind of these people. Now they're sharing their memories now. It's like because it is a hive mind. But fuck, the scene with the kids is just depressing. Like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Props for being like one of the few horror movies that's like, no, we're gonna
Yeah.
kill the kids.
and that's coming from me, someone who loves a dead kid in a movie.
First 5 minutes, though, you like it in the first
Yeah, only
5
that's it.
minutes.
Yeah, only the
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah.
Um,
Because then it becomes a bit of Night of the Living Dead. Now it's a bit zombified. And we've got like, so, because, you know, once we've gone through the Gremlins phase and everyone's been infected, now it's like the slow moving everybody in town kind of thing as they're trying to get away.
And the humanoid characters infect other humans by projectile spitting on them? Is that right?
Or is that just like an attack thing that they have?
Unclear.
Yeah, that's again where I was kind of getting lost, as I was like, well, why can they all do that? And
it's another problem with this film is, like I said, the rules of how this, same thing with kind of the Blob, is the rules of how this creature operates are never properly established, or it's confusing.
No, and we've said it, yes, but we've said it on other movies where it's like, you know, sometimes you don't need to, because you've kind of like, you're just having such.
You're talking about phantoms, yeah.
Yeah, right. But I kind of was actually.
Yeah,
but like,
yeah.
But that's the interesting thing, because we sometimes fall on the other side of the coin as, oh man, who cares? You're just watching a movie. But in this case, we're like, we do care because you keep changing the rules of the movie.
Yeah,
you know,
just a little bit
is different.
Just reining that in a little bit more would just help build this world out, I think.
Yeah, it's, you want to know the rules in a horror movie. You don't need the backstory. So like biting and being like, oh, it's gone from planet to planet. I'm like, I don't need that. Who cares? Like,
it's just another hat on a hat on a hat.
Yeah, like that's not going to lead to any solution. So
unless they're setting up a prequel or something.
Yeah, the Predator is going to show
Slither
up.
With
hunting these things.
Slithers with $2 signs.
Whoa. There we go.
But it does build up to some pretty good grossness at the end, that like the way that, so all the sort of like zombie people are then just kind of like coming towards the house where Michael Rooker's monster is. And
just the melding of them.
Ooh, they're just throwing themselves into.
It's a gross movie. It's
a
gross, like visceral, and I love gross shit. But even I was just like, ugh, this is kind of disgusting.
That's kind of where it was giving me like the Substance vibes, because the last sort of 25 minutes of the Substance
body horror,
is just
for sure,
and it's faces. You know, like none of the bodies really make sense.
It's like you showed up to an orgy without your glasses on, and you're just kind of like. Whose hole is this?
And I won't be making. Oh, damn it! Fuck.
It doesn't matter. Just get in there. Grease you up, throw you in. Hey, you get that kind of like The Thing. If you ever see like the behind the scenes stuff of all the practical stuff that they shot for The Thing prequel, that they then went back in, that they then went back
better,
in and just read all the CG, but like the faces kind of like mashing together, like it's really cool stuff.
Yeah,
that's a tricky thing to do there. A tricky act to follow is The Thing, which is the most incredible practical effects I've ever seen in a movie.
But the practical stuff that they were doing for the prequel, like, worked really well, and then the studio's like, nah, let's just use those computers.
That's what the kids like, computers, and made it better. We all talk about The Thing prequel constantly today, don't we?
Man, that sucks. I haven't seen it, but now I'm like never gonna see it.
The Thing doesn't act like the Thing in it, so don't worry, you don't have to.
I think they only revealed that it's a prequel at the very end of it. Like no one going into that thought it was going to be.
Is it the Norwegians?
Yeah, it is.
Isn't it always?
Yeah. It is them the entire time, but all the connective tissue where you're just like in the first movie, you're like, why is this axe here? Like, why is it? All of that literally last 2 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, all right.
Get to the helicopter credits.
They do, and the guy's in it.
It's literally it.
Yeah. It's like R.J. McCready's funeral home, which is in this movie, and that's of course named after McCready from The Thing. And it's just, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. But
isn't like the mayor also named McCready?
No, like the mayor. Oh yeah, you're right, Jack McCready. Yes, Greg Henry, who is very funny in this movie. He was a real entertaining scumbag.
There's some charm. Like it's a lot of good like character actors, but you're right. Like once you put like an Elizabeth Banks or like a really big star like next to Nathan Fillion, it's just like all the pieces, like we say, just kind of they were there, but they didn't quite fit together.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like, Nathan Fillion was very confused as to what kind of movie they were making. Apparently, like it was.
Shut up, nerd.
I think James Gunn was the one that said, like, we're making a funny movie, but it's not a comedy. Which is like, all right, an interesting note to get. Yeah, for those who are not watching the show, Brian just had an aneurysm.
The one thing actors love to hear. As an actor myself, but
I love
funny,
Nathan but don't deliver any jokes. Yeah,
Nathan Fillion's great. It's a shame we didn't get him making Uncharted films. But
Right.
Did you ever see the one
short
Uncharted
film?
movie he did do?
The short film, yeah.
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 Starring friend of the podcast, Ernie Reyes Jr.
Yeah.
That was a good. I like that.
Great.
That was
Great.
really
Yeah.
fun.
He's great in this movie. I think once he did find his once he got the realization of oh, I know what I'm doing here, it works in benefit of that character.
But he's great. The original title of the film, did you guys see this?
Was The Notebook?
Yeah. It was Wiggle.
God.
Oh, ew. No.
Yeah, no, exactly. The producers were like, "No, change it to Slither. That sounds better and
More
like, okay.
sinister, right?
Yeah.
Hey, it's the dog. Welcome, Achilles. Earl Bassett Community School. Another reference to another movie we've had on the pod was Fred Ward's character from Tremors.
Oh, Tremors, yeah.
Yeah. So
Which, by the way,
yes,
did you hear that the rights to Tremors were just bought back by the original studio? So we might be getting more Tremors movies with Kevin Bacon.
Hell
Please
yeah.
do that. But yeah, this is kind of what I mean is that does everything have to be a reference, James Gunn? Does every shot have to be a reference to another movie? Does every name have to be a reference to another movie? There's a line.
Yeah.
It becomes a little rote. Once a couple of Easter eggs here and there, or some homages, fine, but it does start to feel a little like it's self-parodying itself. It's,
right.
It's parodying
There you
itself.
go. At some point, be your own movie.
Because it's not like the characters aren't. It's not a self-aware film. It's not meta. It's just, oh, I see. It's like an homage to this or reference to that. Yeah.
And that it's kind of like the worst kind of Simpsons episode, which is all just references without ever committing to its own premise. So okay, we've talked enough. Like Slither is a movie that should watch it, but I kind of like what Ryan is saying. I think it would be better as a group watch, or it's better as a Mystery Science 3000 watch of just watch it and kind of like make it a bit of fun. It
feels to me like it's a movie that would have been better served as a smaller part of an anthology type of movie. I don't know if this needed to be a 90-minute thing.
What, like one of those fake trailers from
Yeah.
Like
it's a lot of movie for what it is, and by the end of it I was just it's very short, but I feel like it took me forever to watch this.
There's not quite enough going on with the plot to justify even 90 minutes. Yeah.
By the end I was like, oh, they're gonna go to the thing, it's gonna blow up. All right.
There is a post-credit scene apparently with the cat getting infected, so if you're waiting for Slither 2 Slithers, you never know. It might happen, but yeah, it's one of those movies that I'm so unsure about it. And we've watched so many different kinds of movies for this podcast, and it's very rare for me to just not be moved by one of them. This is maybe only the second or third time that I've been like, I've watched bad movies and enjoyed the crap out of them, and it's like this one is just like I said, it's not quite knowing what it's doing.
A lot of it,
time.
And a lot of it for this podcast especially, it really comes down to the mood that you're in when you watch these movies. And I was generally, once we announced this, I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll watch Slither. I haven't seen it forever. And then once I started, I was like, this just doesn't hit the same.
Yeah, I was up for it too.
Yeah.
But the other movie we brought to the table is, oh man, for both of our female listeners, risky water that we go wading into. Because when we did do South Carolina, Ryan, you talk to people about the pod, and this is one of those movies that everyone's like, well, surely you had to do The Notebook. And we're like, no, we did Swamp Thing. So this time around...
Which is a prequel to The Notebook, as everyone knows.
Indeed. So we did 2004's The Notebook, directed by the Wraith's bad guy himself.
Yes.
Wraith all-star Nick Cassavetes. I just picture him on set directing with the puka shell necklace. Calling everyone Burger Boy.
Yeah. But this is it. Ryan Gosling, Rachel McAdams, James Garner, Gina Rowlands, James Marsden when he showed up, Captain Handsome himself, Sam Shepard, Joan Allen. It's a movie that honestly defied expectation. Massively performed at the theater for only $29 million. It made 120 mil. It's become something of a sort of cult classic. It's the reason that they keep trying to make Nicholas Sparks movies.
Yeah.
They just take any one of his books and they take it into a movie, and they put a Channing Tatum in there, put a Scott Eastwood in there, put a whatever the young kid from 17 again, High School Musical, Zac Efron, put him in one. We'll see if it works. But none of them have kind of hit.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I don't think any of them really resonate as much as this film.
Not like this one. Whereas this movie, now you guys know I don't do spoilers. You guys know I don't do trailers or anything like that. But this is a movie that was so much in the zeitgeist, but I was always like, well, I'm never going to watch that. So I had actually looked up the movie and was very familiar with what was going on. So just in case, if you haven't watched The Notebook, we are going to spoil something that is at the same time not much of a spoiler because it's pretty obvious from about 18 minutes into the movie. But it's a very, very sweet movie about an older sort of like a guy called Duke in an old person's home who's reading this love story in a notebook to this other woman who's at the home as well, but seems to sort of like not have too much memory about what's going on, and he's just telling the story.
Well, she's got dementia.
Well, that does get revealed later. Is that we flash back and we're getting the story of Noah Calhoun back in the 1940s, Seabrook Island, South Carolina, who spots this just gorgeous girl, Rachel McAdams. She's the 17-year-old heiress, Allie Hamilton, and it just kind of kicks off this summer romance. Now, this movie is, I mean, I don't think there's a single woman on earth that doesn't like this movie.
Yes.
Like, it's, you know, but I will say, I will just get it out ahead of time, is I like this movie.
I did too.
Yeah.
I did too.
I'm interested in Will's take. Will, did you like this
Will,
movie?
if you ever want to get laid again.
Loved it. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fine. I didn't hate it.
I can
but...
see why everyone really enjoys this movie.
Yeah, it's one of those, you know, at this point, I've seen so many movies of the same like vein where I'm like, I know every move this movie's gonna make before it makes it.
But
so
still, doesn't
it's fine. Yeah. Didn't hate it. We'll get into it a little bit later, but there is a little bit, just a dash of kind of the Sweet Home Alabama syndrome, where there's a little bit of a female power fantasy where she is such a jerk. And suffers no consequences for being a jerk, and that's the fantasy. Is like,
but she's hot, so
is like you can be as awful as you want to people, and
God, I've got these two beautiful men pining over me, and I just can't decide on which one.
And I'm gonna be awful to both.
It is great, and it is 100%. That I'm like, I did joke about this with Ryan, going, "Oh, it's so weird that this is every like woman's favorite love story." It's like, okay, fall in love with super handsome Ryan Gosling, cool, then go off, have a rich, fun life, with like, I'll leave Ken behind and go and almost marry a real life Ken doll while living it up, having a bunch of money, while my previous boyfriend dedicates his life to building me my dream home that I can then come back to, and then finally get together with him, and then he can pine with me, you know, pine after me for his entire life before he crawls into bed next to me and dies holding my hand. And I'm like, okay,
spoiler alert.
But I'm so, because when you look at it like that, it is hilarious. But I was honestly planning on, like, you know, watching this movie, and I go, okay, am I going to be making fun of this movie? I'm going to be this, that, and the other. And I was like, nah, man, I was up for it.
I was engaged the whole time. Yeah,
yes, I wasn't on my phone. I wasn't like...
I think a lot of it is because Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams are so charming together. Like, they have such great chemistry in this movie. It almost feels like improv. I wouldn't be shocked if they actually hated each other. I don't know.
No, that is true. So that is what was going on. So they actually ended up dating, but after this movie. But during this movie, there was a lot of conflict between them. They were not vibing. They weren't getting on. They actually, Nick Cassavetes had to stage a puka intervention where everyone had to wear puka. Well, he did. Okay. He did have to stage an intervention and kind of like get the grievances out.
Yeah.
But that was that's what they always say, though. You know, it's a thin line between love and hate. Some of those great movies that you see where that, wow, they've got such chemistry. They fucking hate each other. There's movies like that, you know, like a dime a dozen where you're
The
like...
Odd Couple.
Moana. But like, no, you're right, is that there's just... Like Ryan Gosling, it's no surprise that this guy is just like the biggest star in the world right now. I was just thinking about this yesterday, is that, you know, you're looking back at The Notebook. We've had him when we had him on Remember the Titans.
Remember the Titans. Yeah,
he comes from the Mickey Mouse Club.
Yeah,
and it's like since he was Ken, And then so he did the Fall Guy, which I went back and rewatched, and it's just fun. But I know he's doing Project Hail Mary. He's just been announced in the new Star Wars movie that's coming out, and it's like if it's a big thing, it's a big role, and you just need a guy that's kind of goofy, kind of funny, but also swole and ridiculously sexy.
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling. Boom.
It's funny, like he's such a baby face in this, like the
Very
early
much.
bit of this movie. That even later on when they like grease him up and put a fucking beard on him,
Beard
like
on him.
still like just does not look like a real beard, right?
They do.
Yeah.
They do age them down really well. So in those opening scenes where they're just supposed to be sort of like 18, 17 years old,
Yeah.
Rachel McAdams looks like a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
He's got that kind of like, oh shucks, hands in pockets,
Yeah.
kind of like, artful dodger kind of vibe about him. But like that's back then when he was just kind of skinny, sort of like and cute.
Yeah.
And they do have fantastic chemistry. And like, like this movie's not doing anything special or anything we haven't seen before. But like, it's like Ryan
But
was
it
saying,
works.
I
It
still
works.
watch that movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's the exact opposite problem that with Slither is like, I can't tell you why Slither doesn't work. And I'm like, I can't tell you why The Notebook just worked. But I'm watching it.
I'm so glad that we picked this, and I'm so glad that I finally watched it. Because even still, like, yeah, it's the most like cliched thing, but and you've seen dozens of movies like this, but the things this movie does, it does them really well, and I think it's attributed to the cast in it. And
I think that's what puts it over the edge.
they're all so hot.
Yeah, and not only Ryan Gosling and McAdams, but also James Gardner and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her name.
Wait, which character?
The older version.
His
Oh
wife.
yes, that's the one name I can never remember off the top of my head.
Adam Driver.
Adam Driver, that's right. James Gardner and Adam Driver are great in this movie. But their chemistry and like just how clearly he loves her still.
Yeah.
Like I think that's also what drives this movie.
We're talking about Gina Rowlands.
That's right.
And I apologize to everybody from the movie world because she is a superstar in film and television, 7 decades, 4-time Emmy, 2-time Golden Globe.
Gina Rowlands from Destiny's Child?
That's yeah.
But yeah,
It's Kelly Rowland.
Yeah.
James Garner as well.
He's good. I like him.
Fucking amazing in
Yeah.
everything I've ever seen him in, and the way he starts that day and it's going to be a good day and he's giving high fives to the nurses and stuff, and then him and Gina Rowlands, like it really does, honestly, you're right, it is a double act happening from the future and the past at the same time, that it's just it totally they've done that really well.
Yeah.
They really did do that well. You're really feeling James Garner's just love and his patience and stuff like that. And Gina Rowlands does really well with that kind of like, oh, I feel like I know this. It's really, I think the toughest scene in the movie was the one when it's like, jumping ahead, but it's when all their kids turn up, the kids and grandkids.
I was going to say, like, I saw it coming. I knew it was happening, but it was delivered so well. And I was like, it doesn't throw it in your face but it was just executed well.
Well, it's kind of like the way, because they never like fully, like you've already figured it out. Okay, you figure out the dimension, and then you figure out it's probably them, and then it's the bit when the kids turn up and like the nurse, everybody's in on it kind of thing. She goes, "The kids are here. Don't worry, not yours." To prevent her having like a meltdown and stuff. But it's all written over like the oldest son's face. You know what I mean? Which is like,
just like
nice,
hanging out on the back. Yeah.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Oh, what's your name? Kind of stuff.
Got to do this again.
Yeah. But the chemistry is fantastic. There's honestly, it is such a stacked cast because you've got Sam Shepard as Ryan Gosling's dad, and Sam Shepard just so good in so many things I've ever seen. Joan Allen as Ali's mum, being great for just being like playing that
as
cliched
waspy
moment
as
of,
it gets.
You can't date this boy. But then kind of like, being a bit of an antagonist, but then later on be like, all right, well, look, by the way.
Of course, you get the dinner scene where, he's brought to meet her family and everyone, it's a whites only party.
Yeah.
Right.
Wearing white.
It is.
Attire.
I love, and he's there in the black shirt, which is like, the most heavy-handed bit of symbolism in the movie. but at the same time,
You there, boy? How much money do you bring
yes,
in every day?
and that's because the dad.
What do you do?
Her dad
The
is literally the
great.
Monopoly guy.
Yes,
like,
great.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
yeah,
the Monopoly guy multiplied by Kentucky Fried Chicken guy.
But he's like
Yeah.
totally cool with it. You know, it's the
Yeah.
mom that like
But
when
he's
he
got-
when-
yeah.
the mustache
Yeah,
and his accent, I couldn't get enough of that
Yeah.
guy. Honestly, I watch a whole movie with that guy. But it's, it sounds like Ryan's taking the piss, but no, he's like, yeah, young man, tell me, and he's like,
let me tell another one of my racial jokes.
This one's a woman joke. Yeah.
But it was cracking me up. I loved that guy.
It's
but like,
very caricature-y.
Yeah.
You've got Kevin Connolly from Entourage, right?
From Entourage, yeah.
As
Playing himself.
as Ryan Gosling's best mate. And I do like this movie does, again, Brian and I were chatting a little bit about this when I was in Arizona, but it took like something that they do in Legends of the Fall, where you meet the character, then they go off to war. And in Legends of the Fall, stunning, and it's all this kind of, and this one, it's like, all right, well, war's happening because it's the 40s. And then they cut, and it's like they spend $10 million on a 2-minute scene.
It's
like,
crazy.
soldiers, explosions, planes, tanks, and dead. Kevin, like, oh, Finn, you're dead. Cut back,
I almost wondered if I was like, was Band of Brothers filming at the same time? And they're like, wait, can we get in here for like real quick?
It does
Yeah.
look like that. It's quite a production. It's like it feels like a completely different film. Like
Yeah, because it's the Battle of the Bulge, and so it's Bastogne,
I'll
and
say.
it's cold, and it's and it's like snowy, but it's barely 2 or 3 minutes long, isn't it? It's like war happens.
But even that is so cliche. He's like, I'm dying, Bubba. Like that kind of like
I'm so
Hey, Ford.
cold.
you go and you build that house and you write that notebook.
But then you get the other one is like so Ali, her character volunteers as a nurse.
Yeah.
And then it's that for me was like, oh man, it's Airplane.
It's Airplane, yeah.
It's,
Right, yes.
Ted Stryker. So she meets Ted Stryker, and it's
Full
so funny.
cast, like just
it's
looks like a
amazing.
mummy.
Yeah.
Whole body is casted up. He's completely like, and you can barely even see his face. But even then, it's just James Marsden's handsomeness came through. That I go, that's James Marsden.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and it's like, you got to give the confidence to the guy because he's like completely banged up, and he's like, I want to take you to dinner. It's like
my dick still works.
Yeah.
everything else is broken.
everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like he's in a double arm cast, his leg cast, his head is wrapped, and then like a week later, he just shows up standing there. He's like, "I'm all healed. Let's go on that date."
No, he does work. I mean, the guy is. I love.
Yeah, it's great.
James Marsden. As far as like guy crushes go, I've got a massive one. Like my Battle of My Bulge is legit, but he's got such a smile. He's got such ridiculous charm. He's also just so fun. Like, because he comes for me. The first time I ever saw him in anything was X-Men. Because, that's, I always see him as, from X-Men. But have you, he's just, have you
For
ever
me,
seen...
it was the older shitty brother in Sex Drive.
God, forgot about that movie.
Great.
Yeah.
Have you seen, what's the live action sort of, Disney movie?
Sonic. No. Yeah.
You know the one I'm talking about.
Oh,
though.
and it's not called Enchanted.
Monster
is it?
Trucks?
It's Disenchanted. Oh, it's Enchanted.
Yeah, Enchanted.
It is Enchanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He is the
Literally Prince
personification
Charming,
of a
yeah.
yeah. I'm like that. I love that movie
Yeah,
because
great.
he cracks me up. But in this particular case, yes, he's just the perfect example of I come from money. And I'm beautiful and charming, and your parents love me, and let's dance.
It's like, and then even when they break up, he's like, "This can only go one of 3 ways," and all of them end up with you leaving, or I forgot the line, but it's like I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty good."
Yeah, he's like, yeah. I mean, that's
He's just
again,
weirdly cool with it. He's like,
well, he's
"All
like,
right, I
okay,
understand."
so you banged that guy, but I'll still take you back. All women are like, oh, brilliant.
Again, the female power fantasy of I'm going to end our engagement and our relationship for really no reason that I want to go back to this trash man who built me a house and and suffer no consequences for it. And the guy's not even mad. The guy's like,
I still love you. I will still marry.
Because he's hot. Yeah. He's like, I'll figure this out. I'll land on my feet. I look at all this. I'm all right.
Yeah.
So so the bit of the movie we didn't talk about is that when during the summer, It's obvious that they get super close to having sex in the abandoned house. It's pretty hot. There's some times, and I'm like, okay,
it's a
pretty
weird
sexy.
like montage too, because while it is the summer's, like this whole thing happens over like a 2-month period.
Yeah, the
Like,
beginning of the movie is a couple of
all
months.
of this shit, like it's like they've been dating for years, because they're like
Right.
they can't keep their hands off each other, then they hate each other. It's just like it seems strange for such a truncated period of time.
Yeah, but they do it well. You know, they give us all the pieces that we need, and like I said, they as actors as well. Like you're right, because they've got this really sort of interesting confliction going on. They're always either sucking each other's faces off or they're shouting at each other. And you're right, it feels like a whole relationship kind of happens, but those bits when they're angry at each other or slapping each other and stuff like that, I think there was a lot of like,
with them kissing anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of therapy going on with those two in that particular case. But again, it all just hits. Like it really works and hits that you do genuinely believe it. You know, and like just I still get caught every time I think about it though. It's so when you step outside and think about it for just a second, it's like it is something ridiculous at the same time.
It's a little cheesy, but it works. It works.
Yeah, but that's that kind of formula is still really fun. Like it's a fun formula. Like
it's elevated because they're so great in it. If it said like lesser actors, it probably like a Sweet Home Alabama, it probably would have landed as well and become this like cultural phenomenon of a film.
Or like any of Nicholas Sparks' other
works. Name two.
Yeah. But you know what, you say that, but then like, you know, we're talking about because a lot of the cast is pretty well known, but you know, at the beginning, like Nick Cassavetes is saying he wanted someone unknown and not handsome to portray Noah, and then cast Ryan Gosling. So one, he was unknown, but not handsome.
Whiffed on that one.
Yeah. But it's like a lot of people, you know, because this movie, when it rocked up lots of people, you know, when the rights are acquired by New Line and Spielberg. Well, I mean, the thing is, Steven Spielberg has at some point been attached to every movie ever made.
Right.
Like just famously, I might make that. And he was circling the idea of Tom Cruise as Noah. Martin Campbell, he was you know, he's the one that did all the good Bond movies. And like George Clooney was going to play Noah, with Paul Newman being the older Noah. That'd have been interesting, but like Clooney said, you know,
if this was made in like the early 90s, like
when was this?
What time?
That would have been early 2001. You know, so yeah. And then for Ali, it was Jessica Biel, Britney
Betty
Spears,
White,
Jamie King, Jennifer Lawrence, Kate Beckinsale, Kate Bosworth, Amy Adams, Scarlett Johansson, Barbara Bush, Claire Danes, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Ashley Judd, Reese Witherspoon. I mean, like it's just every single actress at the time.
Sure.
But I've always thought that Rachel McAdams has just had something. She's got something about it. It's like she's really good in Wedding Crashers.
Yeah,
you know, she's got
the Hot Chick, her best movie.
Yeah, she's
Rob
got
Schneider film.
Oh my god, that's right. I saw that movie. What was the one where he became like part animal?
The Animal.
The Animal.
Is the Animal? Oh for a little while.
Or the one where he became a staple.
I will say, The Hot Chick is a fantastic film. Just seeing I love a good body swap film, and him, Rachel McAdams playing Rob Schneider in this role is really something else. It's a funny movie.
It's almost too hot.
But she's just.
Or Mean Girls was the other one.
Yeah. Oh my god, Mean Girls. That's what I'm saying is I just like I've never seen Rachel McAdams in a movie and thought she wasn't crushing it, and I'm like,
Doctor Strange.
She's crushing it in Doctor Strange. I'm sorry, but she is. Is that like I really I think she's fantastic. Great bit of casting, and like he's the one that says when she came in to read it was just bang. It's so obvious that it's her, but
she's got some like vulnerability to her.
But strength at the same time. And she's like not afraid to get it. Like she's got that kind of like fun aspect to her. Sassy, like she's up for it. She'll get it, you know, like, no, let's do it. That'll be a laugh. We'll go and goof around. It'll be a giggle. And I'm like, she'll call you on your bullshit kind of thing. And it's like, I think her casting is fantastic.
Yeah.
But like, it's a very, very, very South Carolina movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I forgot that's what we were doing here.
Well, no, because it's like, because it's a really,
it is
quite pretty movie. There's just lots of just wow and outside and like, you know, because Ryan Gosling's notorious for kind of like prepping for his roles, and so, you know, even the ones he doesn't get, like that Peter Jackson one where he put on like 30 pounds, that the Lovely Bones, he was going to play the dad.
Oh.
And then he's like, all right, I'm going to look like a dad. And he ate ice cream and put on like 30, 40 pounds. And then he's like,
Oh, but when I do it.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And he's like, we don't want you anymore. We're getting Mark Wahlberg. That'll work. But like in this particular case, like, yeah, he immediately went to South Carolina and he started building like, you know, tables and chairs and started woodworking and he started rowing every day, like, you know, like his character does, and getting into that kind of vibe. And like a lot of this, like, it is super South Carolina.
Yeah.
Like, while there is a little bit just outside Montreal, mostly the whole thing is shot almost entirely in South Carolina, near Charleston, Murderlaw Island. The Boone Hall Plantation serves as Allie's summer house. It's just like, you know, as I was watching this, I was like, going, this is crazy. Like, I get why Troutman was like, you got to do this.
Yeah.
I get why so many women, like, and when anyone, you know, if you say South Carolina, everyone's like, so you're gonna do the Notebook?
Oh, for sure.
You know, developed by the South Carolina Tourism Board, you know, to give you an idea of like the vibe and the people and the everything else. That I'm like,
I got threats from people saying, like, when we announced we were doing the Notebook, they're like, you better tread very lightly because I will fucking murder you. So to our 2 listeners, I loved this movie. No notes.
Yeah, utterly perfect film. Probably the best film we've ever done.
Yeah.
But it was like, no, man, I'm
enjoyed
glad.
it. I
I'm
really
glad
did.
I watched it. I do recommend it. I do say it was fun. I was wondering where it was gonna go.
I will say the last 30 minutes of this movie fucking were insane to me. Like,
yeah, because I was pretty like, the movie did have me convinced of a, like, when it all goes a bit tits up, because they have such a sweet bit. Okay, I'm going to talk about it, where he's been talking to her all day and he makes her dinner and he plays this song, and for just 5 minutes she comes back, you know. So look, dementia is a cruel bitch, and I think they do it really well in this movie. But there's those 5 minutes where she comes back and I'm like,
yeah,
you know, just biting my lip going, this is not, and then of course, like, you know, it goes wrong and the fog comes back and she's like, who are you? And she has to be like taken out. James Garner's fucking crying and then he has a heart attack, and I go, if you end the movie now.
I was gonna say, I was ready for it. I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh, she remembers. Then I'm like, oh no, like it just goes like a roller coaster towards the end.
I thought that she was just, I thought they were gonna, like, you know, cut to he's dying or is dead, and she's just looking out the window wondering, oh, who's being buried? And it just starts raining against the pane and it cuts to credits, and I would have like flipped the fucking table.
I was waiting for Mel Gibson to show up in like a time machine and be like, like, I'm putting together a team of Mavericks. I'm jumping my time portal. All right, it's the only other thing I like clearly remember him from. But yeah, the heart attack scene, I was devastating because, you know, he gets to the checkup earlier. Yeah. I for sure thought the retirement home, like the home, this is the future stuff is all set and was also set in the house that he built.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Now, because it kind of looks the same, but it's never fully explained. But I genuinely go, oh, it's the same. Isn't it the same house that he kind of donated?
But would it be big enough? Yeah, I just don't know, or if it's a part of this. I don't know. That would have made sense, like, you know, for her memories, but it seems a little selfish to just do that for her.
I had the same thought. I wonder if it was kind of like, if that was like intentional to be like, let's not clearly say whether or not it's the same home. Like maybe they sold it to a company to take care of elderly people, and with the idea of like, hey, we'll have to be here.
I did like the idea that it became national news that man builds house, that she sees it in the
that was a little
on her wedding day. She's like, oh, look at this newspaper. Her mom just flips up and he's just like, how, isn't there a war? Like, what the fuck?
Right.
Well, it's not national news. It's inside South Carolina. It's like local.
But she was in New York at the time. No,
New York? No, because he's a Southern gent. They're getting married in the South. You know what I mean? It's like,
oh, all right.
Yeah. Because he went into town. He didn't see her in North Carolina. He didn't see her in New York. He went in when he was trying to get permission to build the house or whatever it was.
I thought I remembered that she flew down, but I guess you're right. I guess
she drove in that car, didn't she?
I guess you're right. I will say I was
women
watching
on planes.
What's next? They're going to be silver surfers. Yeah, like so I will admit, like during my watch of this movie, I have like a treadmill like in my room, so when I'm watching movies now, I'm just walking the entire time. And sometimes like little details like that skip right past me. So I literally thought she flew to meet him, but yeah.
No, yeah, she drives into his fence, right? That was a cute little thing.
He drives into the fence. That was an accident apparently as well. I saw that one. The bit where he drives back to sort of like to see her. He's driving so fast. And
I mean, when she's leaving, when she goes to visit the house, and she's like, "All right, great seeing you. I gotta get the fuck out of here," and she drives, and the car just explodes.
But like, yeah, this movie does stick the landing. It did give me
for sure
a moment of concern, and then you get Duke and the sweet bit with. So yeah, the way it's kind of like come out is that Duke isn't in the old person's home. He's there because Allie's there. So Duke is Noah. And he does that so as not to confuse her, but like he's there so he can be close to his wife, and that's just the way it is. And so he's just a resident there, but you know he's got it's much like it's not like he's sick. It's more just like he says in the movie, it's kind of like it just I'm wearing out. It's just the nature of what it is to get older. And the bit where he sneaks out of his room and there's the nurse going, you can't do that. You should go back to your room now. I'm going to go downstairs and I'm going to go get some food. And I'm not going to be back for quite some time. So you make sure, I was like, okay, sweet. But like, when the movie stuck the landing, as it does, I'm like, can you imagine if you'd seen that in the theaters? Because I can't, like, it would have been the weepiest fucking, it would have been more women crying than
I was saying,
Val Kilmer turned
eyes soaked. Chairs soaked.
But it does a good job. It is
I did like cackle at the end. I'm like, they just fucking die? Like, like they're not like decrepit people, but the idea of them like, well, I mean, how else do you end it? Like you just end with it.
There's no other way to end that movie that I was like, you better like, unless like
unless it
Charlie
like
Sheen turns up on a bike and says, "Come on!"
It just but like you can see it just panning up to twinkling stars or something like something ethereal.
But in this, it works. I mean, like it didn't when it got like its reviews are like 50-50. Like when it first came out, it's like 54%. It was just one of those ones that like critics weren't so crazy about. I mean, if you look at Slither, it's like 84%. Critics loved it, but like by comparison, it's just like. It's chalk and cheese, man. Couldn't be more difference.
I mean, I can see that for The Notebook because it's like I said, it's not doing anything. It's not doing anything different. Yeah. And if your job is to watch a billion movies a year, this is probably going to feel like this is right down the center.
It feels like a prestige Hallmark movie, right? Like it's very safe,
100%.
But it's a perfectly watchable, enjoyable film.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say, doesn't matter if you're a guy, doesn't matter if you're a girl, doesn't matter if you're single, doesn't matter if you're married. Like, it's a movie that it just looks good.
Now, what did your German exchange student think of this one?
True love is not real. This movie is silly.
Guys, you are not far off. Because so Tildy hasn't seen the movie, but she also has. So I said, so I did Slither, and she goes, well, so what other movie are you doing? I go, I'm doing The Notebook. She goes, I fucking hate that movie. And I'm like, wait, what? She goes, it's so boring. I watched the first 40 minutes and just turned it off. I'm like, really? And she's like, no, so boring.
Wiedersehen, asshole.
Yeah. Yes. I was so surprised that I was like, wait, really? And so, even my daughter hasn't seen it either. I think she read the book, or they've both seen the first 40 minutes, but it seems that for Gen Z, the movie is low.
Yeah. Well, I'll say that when I rented it at the video store, the lady was checking out to me. She's around my age, and she was like, yeah, an ex-boyfriend like made me watch this movie with him, and he was crying during it, and I was like, I guess we got to break up because this is stupid. I was like, whoa, all right.
Wow. Now that's a fucking twist.
Yeah.
So exactly.
Like, God damn it, video store lady. What are you doing after this?
So, oh man, it's yes. So it's not universally loved. I think
it's a specific like age
Yeah.
demographic for women who really like this movie.
Yeah, I think it's the older millennials, the
Yeah,
Gen
for
Xers,
sure.
and like the boomers that go
People who
for
haven't experienced heartbreak yet, like
Right.
this
or
isn't for
love.
them.
They're emotionally dead inside. Yeah.
Or getting pantsed on a Ferris wheel.
If I had a nickel for every time that happened to me.
Though, to be honest, I am, I've said it before on certain episodes where I'm like, man, I don't know where this is going to land. And there's other episodes where I come in and I go, is this the most open and shut case we've ever had on this
Slither
show?
it is.
Swamp Thing. Yep.
So we did do Swamp Thing because we were like, man, it is shot like it's all swampy
But that
we
was
really
Georgia,
enjoyed it.
right? Was that shot in?
Was
I
it
forgot.
Georgia?
I couldn't remember.
I'll see if I
Can't
can figure that
remember.
out. While we're doing
I mean,
this.
obviously we picked it because it's a flawless film,
Right.
but I
Yeah.
can't remember if because it beat out The Crazies and no, wait, no, that's
No,
Iowa.
that's
Sorry,
next
it beat
time.
out
Shag?
Shag and Dirty
Shag.
Dancing.
No, Dirty
Was that
Dancing.
North
That's a Catskills.
No, it's set. Oh, that's no.
Set-
But we did
yeah,
set,
that's
that
right.
was Troutman did the whole
Yeah, we
set
had-
in versus
yeah.
shot in.
We had the whole debate. Yeah.
No, here you go. So filming of Swamp Thing was primarily in South
Doc
Carolina.
Hollywood and Shag.
Oh,
There we
put
go.
Swamp Thing over
Hollywood.
Doc Hollywood. Yeah.
Well, it's because in this case it was
Well-
completely shot in South Carolina, filmed at the historic Aitken Rhett House in Charleston,
Yeah.
South Carolina. And
If
it was
only-
also the greatest movie ever made.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, The Notebook. If only every character in The Notebook sounded like Foghorn Leghorn.
If everyone
say
sounded like
here,
the
boy.
dad, if that's what it means, that's
Yeah.
the dad was
Yes.
basically the
Pretty much, yeah.
human personification of Foghorn Leghorn. In every way, but
Just racist enough.
yeah, without being fully
Yeah.
racist, they've got all the staff, right? But they pay them, It's like it was so edgy, but like that movie, it cracked me up. It genuinely cracked me up. But for me, The Notebook
It's got to be The Notebook.
gotta be right. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be.
it's
Yeah.
not even a race. It's not even a competition.
I like picturing method actor Ryan Gosling immersing himself in South Carolina culture, like trying to hunt the Swamp Thing. Like, no, guys, this is real. This exists. Like,
I saw the movie, guys.
I know there's a Swamp Thing out here.
then they
But
partner up in the sequel. You get it.
Is there even a debate on this one? Because can anybody throw it? Because it's no. I think like
Mm-mm.
I've got nothing to kind of like Slither.
Nothing else that like looks like that really captures that kind of.
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
does. Because as much as we were like, okay, Swamp Thing does the South Carolina thing, is that in this case there's more than just swamps. There's
Love.
the old school and the nude school.
Other things.
New school and the nude school. There's rivers, there's everything that like it did feel like, it was being shot for Visit South Carolina commercial.
Right.
It's
This
like,
movie feels like a postcard for South
Yeah.
Carolina.
and considering
about
there's
Swamp
so
Thing.
much love for it, I'm doing it, I'm calling it. It's happening right now that we have a new champion to take down Swamp Thing. We're
Wow.
going with 2004's The Notebook, directed by the Wraith's best mate, starring Ken and that mean
Cyclops.
girl,
Yeah.
and Cyclops. But yeah, it's just there's nothing to it. It's fine. It's a good movie. You should watch it. I think it deserves the reputation it's got. It's not doing anything new, but you're still gonna have a good time. What are you trying to say here, Ryan?
I will say for fans of James Marsden, if you watch the show, he plays the president on the show Paradise on Hulu, but there's an episode, I think it's episode 7, where he really gets to shine, and it's a phenomenal episode of television. Definitely worth checking out.
There's also that other show that I got to go back and watch, is where he's the court.
Jury Duty. Yes,
Jury
James
Duty.
Marsden as
Yes.
himself, like incredible. He's such a funny guy.
I've heard
Such a
so
great
much.
show, yeah.
So, all right. So we've got our new champion. All right. That'd be interesting to see how that fares when we come to the ultimate sort of like face-off kind of vibe. We're not watching face-off.
Wait, Face Off.
Wait, should we watch
Hang
Face Off,
on.
guys?
Oh, now I'm in.
Wait,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go watch Face Off. But of course, before we move on, we have to figure out what were the movies that we almost watched. There is one. It was very funny that when we got into the debate about what movie we were gonna do, we knew which movie we were gonna do. We said we're definitely doing it, and then we looked up the runtime. It was 2 hours 50
yeah.
minutes, and then we discovered that the only one available on streaming was the extended version, which is
Yeah, the
3
director's cut.
hours long. is The Patriot.
Yeah.
Directed by Roland Emmerich, all set in South Carolina. The British are the bad guys. It's a, American sort of like freedom sort of thing, starring Mel Gibson.
Heath Ledger, yeah.
And Heath Ledger, Jason Isaacs, all that kind of stuff. I always thought it was kind of like a rip-off of Last of the Mohicans, because you even get that exact same scene where he goes like a murdering with like
the two axes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like we wanted to do it, guys, but
Yeah.
none of us could commit to 3-hour movie, and we're like, let's do Slither instead.
Yeah, and I've been trying to get us to watch that one for a while. When I saw the runtime, I'm like, oh yikes, that
None
almost
of us
needs its own.
believed it. Because we've all seen that movie. We've all seen it. And we're like, I don't remember there being movies that long. I thought that was a new thing, with the Batman and all that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, we do 3-hour movies now? But no, The Patriot is a monster of a movie. Though I think we really should spend a year preparing ourselves so that we can watch it.
Yeah. The only other one we had on the list was the wrestling movie Ready to Rumble. Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, there's we circled the idea of maybe watching Radio, but like it's that sort of like one of like it's just exactly. You never go full.
Movie is best left in the bin.
But there's other stuff like The Prince of Tides, Nick Nolte, I think movie, The Secret Life of Bees. We circled Days of Thunder.
Yeah.
As well. But there's not an incredible amount of South Carolina movies, like
I wanted us to do Death Notebook, which
Death Notebook,
yeah, that's James Garner just kills people by reading off names in the Notebook.
Death Notebook. Yeah, no, that'll be a good. Well, I think next time, I think if we're gonna do it, we've done The Notebook, we have to do The Patriot, I think, next time around, and we'll see if we can find something as well.
We might just do the one movie that week.
Maybe.
That'll be my idea.
That's fair. Because it is like 4 movies.
A monster of a movie. Though I could throw Days of Thunder in there just for a little bit of fun. South Carolina, well done, The Notebook. Okay, you were right. People that have told Ryan that he'd be a dead man if we didn't do this and treat it with respect. But you did well. Well done. Yeah. Next week, though, we go to Iowa. What was our champion in Iowa?
Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams.
It was. Okay. All right, good. I was about to be worried that did we do another Swamp Thing? Yes. Okay. So Field of Dreams, the ultimate Iowa movie, an absolute classic banger for me, a worthy champion as well. But it's a question of, all right, what can we bring to the table? Now, interestingly enough, Will, you've mentioned a movie that I have never heard of, but I like the timing of it, considering we recently lost the iconic director of this particular movie. So why don't we tell us about the movie that you're bringing to the table?
I'm bringing The Straight Story, David Lynch's least David Lynchian movie. I have not seen it yet. I've heard it's really, really good. Weird Disney produced David Lynch film.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Disney produced David Lynch movie?
Yeah, and I think it's one of his biggest hits. I think it did the best at the box office. But I'm partial to movies about old guys on quests, and that seems to be what this movie is. So
it's
I'm
on
excited
Disney
to check it out.
Plus.
Yeah.
So I'm using Just Watch, our non-sponsor sponsor. Okay, a retired farmer and just drives across Iowa on a tractor. Okay, all right.
Yeah. To see his brother, I think it's to see his brother.
And this movie's 6.5 hours long.
Yes.
Yeah, it's real time.
I do see it like one review. I mean, it's got 91%. So considering I've never heard of this movie, know nothing about this movie, and the fact it's directed by David Lynch, okay, I'm in. 1999's The Straight Story. You'll be able to find it on Disney Plus. And there's another movie that I kind of like leaned into. I said, let's do this. I don't think you've seen it, Ryan, but why don't you tell us about this one?
I haven't seen either. You picked, was it? I forgot the year, but What's Eating Gilbert Grape?
What's Eating Gilbert Grape?
I'm going to guess it's corn.
Famously, what was the story you just told me, Will, before we start rolling about Corey Feldman?
Corey Feldman says he was really close to like being in the movie, but Johnny Depp was the one who forced him out, and we got Leo DiCaprio in it instead. I don't know how much Johnny Depp had to push back to get Corey Feldman out of this movie, but who knows? I wasn't in those meetings. It could have been a fight, but
Now,
I'm gonna guess they made the right call.
I've only seen this movie once. I watched it a few years ago. It's from 1993. It's Johnny Depp, Leonardo DiCaprio, Juliette Lewis kind of vibe. It's great, but I tell you what, it does have, and like if you've ever seen, I think DiCaprio won a Golden Globe for this when he was a teenager. But there is one particular moment that is one of the greatest bits of acting I've ever seen in my life. It's DiCaprio absolutely crushing it. It's a very interesting movie. I'm going to say that I'm interested to see as well as like, it's very, very sort of America. It's very, very sort of out there. I reckon it's going to be a pretty strong contender as well. But I like this, that putting up Straight Story, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and Field of Dreams all next to each other is going to be quite a triple. Apparently, it's saying that you can watch it for free on Prime. Though that might be one of the ones that comes free with ads.
Yeah,
but that's okay because that version, it's not like, you know, it'll put in a couple of ads, but it's not going to take away too much from it. So there we go. What's Eating Gilbert Grape and The Straight Story as we return to Iowa. If you want to watch Field of Dreams, you know, because if you build it, they will come. But yeah, all right, guys, I'm looking forward to this one. It's kind of interesting. This week was a weird one. Like I say, Slither kind of left a bad taste of a slug in my mouth. But the Notebook,
you just got to bite down and
get those memories back, which Rachel McAdams can't do.
Anyway, we brought it full circle.
There we go.
As we've always said, if only there was a way to combine these two movies into a station-like superior movie, they just run at each other and meld, much like in Slither.
There you go.
Yes.
All right. So, like, as always, if you want to find more from me, you can find me as That Englishman in Texas or Ollie Pettigrew on Facebook, where I often talk about all things Texas, but I'll also talk about movies, usually on a Monday. Will is entitled Millennial. You can find him on TikTok, especially where he likes to talk about movies, especially old ones you've probably never heard of, before he brings those dusty movies to this podcast to educate us fools. You can find Ryan as Rhino Digital somewhere, sometime, in certain places where he hasn't been banned. Has incredible designs, movie posts, and things like that. RYNO Digital. You can also find us on our Facebook page, The United States of a Movie. If you're watching us on YouTube and haven't subscribed, do us a favor and do that. Jump in the comments. Let us know where you think we should go next time or what movie we should do from your particular state. And especially tell us the things that we've done wrong. We love to hear it. But other than that, guys, thank you very much for this episode from Ryan, from Will, and from me. We'll try and remember you when we're old. And hey guys, let's all go to bed and hold hands. It's going to be great.
Oh God,
let's do it.
Thanks,
That's the dream.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the United States of a Movie podcast. We'll see you next time.